Do you want to achieve crazy high close rates in your business? Keep on watching because I'm going to walk you through some questions that will help you close the sale.
Always come when I need you. You know I'll be there for you. Where are you now? Where are you now?
Have you ever had a call where you get all the way to the end and then they say no? Or worse yet, they give you an I need to think about it, and then they ghost you and you never hear from them again. Well, what if you could help to tap into their inner sense of urgency and lead them to a sale? Because after all, they gave you their time on that sales call. Sometimes we think to ourselves, I just wasted an hour of my time on this call just to get a no. But really, they gave you an hour of their time as well. So they might feel very much the same, that they wasted their time or whatever that is. And we have to think about, why did they get on that call with you to begin with? It's probably because they wanted the thing that you're selling, but there is something that's holding them back from that. And we need to be able to figure out what that is so that we can lead them to the solution that is going to make their life better. Now, in order to effectively close the sale, the first thing that we typically want to do after we get through the discovery phase, which is going through the client's roadblocks and their challenges and really understanding their goals, what we typically want to do is we want to intervene and we want to say, well, I got the product for you. And then we go into sales mode and we start pitching them. We're actually missing a crucial step when we go directly into the pitch. And that's what we're going to walk you through here today are some of the questions that you need to ask before you get into the pitch that are going to help you to close the sale more effectively. And that very first question is that we need to ask them, what do they think needs to get better in order to move them towards their goal or in order to solve this problem or challenge that they're having? The reason that we need to ask them what they think they need to do is because we need to understand the underlying beliefs that they have. And this is so important because if we don't understand their underlying beliefs, then they may have a belief that our solution doesn't align with, in which case we are selling them on something and it's going to be met on deaf ears. And so I'll give you an example of this. An example of this would be if you were a health coach and you wanted to work with somebody through a keto diet, right? So a keto diet is almost no carbs, right? It is high in protein, high in fat, and almost no carbs. And so let's just say that they were speaking to somebody who had worked with their doctor and their doctor had recommended a very balanced diet of, protein and carbs and fat. And they were really working on their macros. So they needed to have X number of macros of proteins, X number of macros of carbs, X number of macros of fat. Well, now all of a sudden you're going to go against the advice of their doctor. And so who is more of an authority in their life? Probably their doctor versus you, the stranger who they've just been talking to for maybe a half hour on a phone call so far, right? And so even if that had not worked for them, maybe whatever the advice they gotten from their doctor maybe hadn't worked, the fact that you're going completely against the grain on what they may believe they need to do in order to move forward with their weight loss goals, that's going to be met with deaf ears. And so you need to know, okay, I need to actually educate them on why carbs are bad before I can move into this. And that's, of course, if that's something that actually worked and that's something that actually you really truly believed in and you had the results to back it up. So that's question number one. We need to figure out what do they think that they need to do. Now, the other great thing about that question is that we're going to understand potential objections that are going to come up before they even come up. So for example, they might say, well, in order for this to get better, I need to have more time. Well, if we all of a sudden hit them with a solution that's going to require a lot of their time to make happen, you're going to get a time objection. You're setting yourself up to fail, right? You're setting yourself up for that time objection, and that's going to be very difficult to solve at that point. Very easy to solve if we know ahead of time that they're struggling with time. So maybe we have something in our arsenal that we can talk about when it comes to positioning our product and how it's going to save them time, or how, going through this little bit of struggle with time is actually going to save them time in the long run. Now, this is something that we work really, really closely with our clients inside of the Client Hatching Formula program that we have, because these little nuances, the questions that you ask during a sales conversation, can make a world of difference to not only your closing ratio and not only your ability to close the sale, but also to the experience that the client has with you. You want it to be a very, very back and forth relationship. You want for that client to feel comfortable as much as you're feeling comfortable inside of that sales conversation. You want to build up that trust. And these questions really do help to build up that trust, because you can imagine if you were to pitch a product to somebody and it went against their beliefs, they're going to lose a lot of trust in you. So if you want more information about the Client Hatching Formula, hit the link in the description box below to message me and just say Client Hatching Formula, and I will shoot over the details to you via Messenger. Now, the other question that we need to ask before we get into the pitch is, what happens if nothing changes? Now, you've probably heard before that you need to create urgency with people, but here's the thing. So often marketers sell us on the idea that we need to create this external sense of urgency. We need to say the price is going up, or we need to say the cart is closing, or you need to do this right now because you're going to lose it on all these things. That is an external pressure that we're putting on our clients inside of this sales conversation. When we do that, when we put this external pressure on them, people don't feel very good, do they? And when they don't feel good inside of that sales conversation, it's likely that you also don't feel very good, and you also feel a little bit awkward, and you shy away from making that pitch, and you shy away from changing this person's life with what it is that you have to offer. And by asking them this question, what happens if nothing changes? What we do is we help them get into their internal sense of urgency, and we do what I like to call the intervention. So imagine that this person who's on this sales call with you, they have some sort of problem, right? They have some sort of problem. But the thing is that there's a reason why they haven't gone out and they haven't bought a solution or sought a solution for this problem in the past. It's likely that you are not the first solution that has crossed their path. They haven't just been waiting for you to show up in their life with your magical, beautiful thing, right? And there's a reason why marketers use the magic bullet solutions, right? Because it feels sexy, it feels easy. But the fact of the matter is that this person is probably a lot more comfortable in their current state of normal than they are doing the work that they need to do in order to change. This is why those easy magic bullet solutions sell, even though they aren't the best thing for the client. We know that in order for a client to get a great result, they need to do the great work that is required in order for them to get the great result. But they know that as well. They know that deep down. They know they have to do the work, but doing the work is hard and doing the work is uncomfortable. And what happens if they do the work and then they don't get the result, right? And so we need to help them to understand why normal is actually far more uncomfortable than doing the work, because they want this thing. But the fact of the matter is that there's something inside of all of us that says like, I don't know if I want to do that. That sounds really scary and uncomfortable. By asking that question, what happens if nothing changes? Then all of a sudden we get them thinking about the pain that they're causing themselves by staying the same. And we see if they even want to change, because the last thing that we want to do is enroll somebody into a program when they don't actually really want the result, right? Or maybe the result that they want is something that you can't provide for them. That's the last thing that we want to do, is to sell them into something that they don't need or want. And by asking this question, what happens if nothing changes, it allows them to really go deep and to reflect and to feel into themselves, to know, well, what happens if nothing changes? If they say, well, just everything will stay the same and I'm okay with that, great. Then I'm going to release you from this call because you don't need what it is that I'm selling. Now I just saved myself a whole lot of time. I saved them a whole lot of time and a whole lot of pain of going through that sales pitch. Now, all of this is not to say that you won't get objections. You may still get objections because clients need to be able to process information, but you're going to get far fewer objections when you do ask these questions ahead of time, and the objections that you get are probably going to be very manageable when you ask these 2 questions ahead of time. Now, if you are struggling in handling objections, we have a great free training for you. If you head on over to heatherprestansky.com/closing, there's a really great training there on 5 steps to close the sale on the first call that will walk you through how to handle not just the surface level objections that you're getting, like, I can't afford it, I need to think about it, I need to talk to my spouse, but it's also going to help you to get to the true root of the objections, because most of the time when they say, I can't afford it, or I need to talk to my spouse, or whatever it is, most of the time that actually isn't the case if you have done your job and you've done a few of the steps that we talk about inside of that training. So it's heatherprestansky.com/closing to get that free training. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a thumbs up below and subscribe to our channel, because we do post new videos every single day around sales and around marketing and lead generation. So we will see you back here again tomorrow. Bye for now.
Always come when I need you. You know I'll be there for you. Where are you now? Where are you now? Always try my best for you. You just know